Chapter 1332. Gu Mingming was already a little tipsy, but Wabiai was still very energetic. Gu Mingming rubbed her temples and shook her head. No, I can't drink anymore. Wabiai hooked his arm around Gu Mingming's neck. You promised to get drunk with me, can you still go back on your words? She then leaned against the side of the barrel and hooked her finger at Wabiai. Little shit, I am not a petty person, do you know? I said that I will drink till I'm drunk till I'm drunk till I'm drunk. Come over here. Look at this, see, it's all wine. I'm a tycoon, do you know that? Wabiai's eyes widened as he looked at Wabiai and said, Little shit, I am not a petty person, do you know? I said that I will drink till I'm drunk till I'm drunk till I'm drunk till I'm drunk. Wabiai leaned over to the barrel and took a deep sniff. His face was filled with greed. He looked at Gu Mingming. This is for me? Gu Mingming made a pleased gesture. After you finish this, there's more beside. Do you see, there's so much, you can drink as much as you want. Wabiai held onto Gu Mingming's shoulders with both hands and knocked his head hard against her forehead. Gu Mingming, you are so loyal. From today onwards, I, little shit, am your friend. Your problems are my problems. I will climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a sea of flames. If I, little shit, even blink, I am your child. Gu Mingming changed her tone. She shook her head and corrected herself. My partners are wolves and foxes. They can't give birth to such a huge worm like you. Wabiai also shook his head. He turned Gu Mingming's shoulders around and pointed at the back of her neck. No, you have a partner from the snake tribe. Look, the mark is here. This mark, it looks so familiar. I seem to have seen it somewhere before. Gu Mingming clutched the back of her neck. Realization dawned on her. Yes, I have the mark of the snake tribe on my neck. Alright, you are my child from now onwards. Leah and Elvis looked at each other. They didn't know whether to laugh or cry as they watched Gu Mingming and Wabiai spout nonsense in all seriousness. Wabiai thought for a moment. So, you and Snake gave birth to me, then I mated with Snake's mother and became Snake's little daddy, so between Snake and I, who is whose daddy? Gu Mingming seemed to have fallen into a trap. She tried to calculate with her hands. Finally she smacked her head. You are my daddy. Wabiai nodded. Alright, I am your daddy. Wabiai nodded. Alright, I am your daddy. Wabiai nodded heavily and said, Alright, father, I will drink first to show my respect. After saying that, he plunged his head into the wine barrel and gulped it down. Elvis poked Leah with his elbow and asked, So, who exactly is whose daddy now? Leah facepalmed. I haven't passed level 4 or 6 in Chinese, so I don't really understand. With that, he walked forward with a smile and hugged Gu Mingming in his arms. He won't be able to finish it in such a short time. Go and sleep for a while. Gu Mingming looked at Leah and was stunned for 2 seconds. Then she raised her arm and gave Leah a slap. Demon, return my master. Leah was dumbfounded from the beating. He looked at Elvis innocently and asked, Her master is? Elvis thought about it and grabbed Oriton, whose face was swollen from Lee's beating, from the side. I'll take this, I'll make do with it. Leah nodded and dragged Oriton's leg in front of Gu Mingming. Come, return your master. Gu Mingming did not take it. Instead, she squatted down and stared blankly at Oriton. After a while, she smacked her lips and said, I heard that eating him can make you immortal. In that case, I can accompany my man forever. Why don't the 3 of us share him and have a taste? Out of topic. Who was the one who said that Elvis and Leah had bad alcohol tolerance? Look at these 2. I used to have a friend. One time, he drank too much and came out of the bar claiming that he was a pleasant goat. He sprawled on the green belt to eat grass. No one could pull him away and he had a mouthful of mud. The next day he blamed us for not stopping him. We showed him the video and he said that we couldn't stop him even if we tried. He said, Then why didn't you guys shout, Grey Wolf is here? Chapter 1333. Oriton sat up abruptly. As his face was swollen from Lee's slap, he could not speak clearly. Coupled with the effects of the alcohol, his tongue was stiff. He stammered, Eat? Where is it? Where is the food? Meat, my meat. Gu Mingming instantly clutched her head and rolled around on the floor. Master, I was wrong, master. Stop chanting, stop chanting. Ah. With a scream, Gu Mingming fainted. Leah and Elvis looked at each other. Elvis carried Gu Mingming, who was lying on the ground, and heard her even breathing in light snores. He smiled helplessly and carried her to the bed. Then he and Leah revealed their original forms and placed her in the middle, one on the left and one on the right. After lying down beside Gu Mingming, Elvis suddenly released his beast pressure and Oriton was instantly pressed back to his original form, directly falling onto the ground. Leah was not spared either. Luckily, he had already adjusted his pose and fainted without any qualms. When Gu Mingming woke up the next day, Wabi was no longer around. Only one barrel of wine was left out of the dozen barrels. Gu Mingming stared at the empty barrel and gritted her teeth. She pointed at the door and shouted at the air. "Little shit. Just wait and see. See how I will settle the score with you next year." Elvis and Leah rubbed their noses. Neither of them mentioned that it was Gu Mingming herself who made Wabi drink freely last night. Leah held Gu Mingming's shoulders and pinched her angry little face. He asked with a smile, "My precious Gu Mingming, does your head still hurt?" Gu Mingming rubbed her own head. "It doesn't hurt. Our wine is all natural and doesn't have any additives. I don't get a hangover too often." Leah was not asking about the hangover. But he did not explain. He just pointed at Oriton. "Then do you still want to eat him? Do you want to fry him or stew him?" Gu Mingming tilted her head. She looked at the bruised and swollen Oriton in a daze. "Are you crazy? We have so much food at home. Why did you eat Oriton?" Leah replied with an innocent face, "Weren't you the one who said that eating him would make you immortal and accompany me and Elvis forever? I feel that this future is very beautiful. Sacrificing one Oriton in exchange for the three of us staying together forever. What are you hesitating for?" Gu Mingming was shocked. She pointed at her own nose. I said that?" Leah nodded. Gu Mingming shifted her gaze to Elvis, who also nodded. Gu Mingming facepalmed. "I thought the alcohol content of the wine wasn't high, so I was very assured. But that little bastard Wabi kept teasing me and I couldn't control myself. I drank a little too much. I think I'm blacking out." Scratching her head, Gu Mingming asked carefully, "Other than saying that I wanted to eat Oriton, I didn't say anything else, right?" Leah rolled his eyes meaningfully before saying, "You talked a lot. For example, discussing who was whose father with Wabi." Gu Mingming herself could not recall what she had said, but based on the sentence about eating Oriton to make one immortal, the level of nonsense she had spouted should be comparable to strange stories from a Chinese studio. Gu Mingming smiled apologetically and said, "As the saying goes, don't take drunk words seriously." Leah raised his brows. "Didn't you tell me before that drunken people speak the truth after drinking?" Chapter 1334. Leah laid sideways beside Gu Mingming and played with her hair. "How is it embarrassing? You don't even know how adorable you were last night?" With that, Leah couldn't help but laugh. "I will force you to drink whenever I'm in a bad mood. Seeing you drunk like a cat will make all my worries disappear." So what exactly did she do last night? She had no recollection at all. Elvis and Leah seemed to be teasing her on purpose. The more she asked, the more they refused to answer. They just smiled at her, making her hair stand on end. But this hangover was not without its benefits. At least, that Miranda who made Gu Mingming feel so aggrieved and awkward, was forgotten by Gu Mingming just like that. On the 10th day after Wabi left, the first snowfall arrived. Gu Mingming leaned on the windowsill and watched as Sauter slowly turned from a beautiful and romantic city with its first snowfall into a sweet and beautiful fairy tale cartoon building. Then, the snow sealed off the window. Apart from the faint whistling of the wind, she could not hear anything else. Of course, she didn't know that the bird circling 6,000 meters high in the sky, shuttling through the wind and snow, was so focused that it could see her, who was smaller than a sesame seed, through the layers of wind and snow. Only when her appearance was completely covered by the snow did it reluctantly leave. However, halfway through, it suddenly turned back and stopped outside her window. Folding its wings, it was like a drunken general lying on the battlefield, lying on its back in the snow, letting the sky full of goose feathers bury it alive. Her laughter could be heard in the rustling sound of the snow. That was good. He could get closer to her when she couldn't see him. He soared into the sky. A spirit eagle leapt out of the snow and soared into the 9 heavens. He had to protect her. Even if she didn't need it, even if she didn't know, he had to do something for her. Only then would he be able to suppress his restless heart. If his body was tired enough, he might be able to sleep tonight. Gu Mingming, who was in the stone castle, was completely unaware of what was happening outside. Because of her, the stray beasts did not dare to approach this place. This made her feel at ease. After all, other than the stray beasts who wanted to snatch the tribe's food, who would go out in such weather? Cupping her cheek, Gu Mingming tapped her own face lightly with her fingers. "Don't you guys feel that Cole has been too quiet for the past year? Is it good that he doesn't bother you?" Leah replied to Gu Mingming as he took out a piece of beast skin from the side and made Gu Mingming's bed softer. Then he carried Gu Mingming onto the bed and added, "It's just the start of winter and the weather is getting colder. Don't be greedy or you might fall sick. Gu Mingming did not resist and allowed Leah to carry her up and place her on the bed. Meanwhile, Elvis sat behind her calmly and stretched out his long arms, pulling her into his embrace. It's not that I'm not good. It's just that he's a pervert who can't stand others doing well. I feel especially uneasy when he suddenly changed his personality and stopped finding trouble with me. Look, Qixin and Kanwu even specially came over to remind me to be careful. But other than throwing Miranda at me, Cole didn't do anything else. And that Miranda was easily locked up by us and will be sent away next year. Why is it so easy to resolve? Why is it so unlike Cole's style? Chapter 1335. Thinking about it, Gu Mingming nodded and did not dwell on it any further. As Sauter had a secret passageway, Gu Mingming did not feel bored during the winter. She often used the secret passageway to look for Sandy or Huda and Jiayu. Such comfortable days passed by for half a month. This day, Gu Mingming woke up as usual, ate as usual and prepared to pass through the secret passageway to look for Sandy. But she realized that Leah was blocking the entrance of the secret passageway and not letting her in. He even used layers of beast skin to seal the entrance. Lee's expression was not right and he looked very agitated. Leah? What's wrong? Gu Mingming was a little worried and went forward to help Leah up. She was shocked. Leah, why is your body so hot? Are you sick? Leah shook his head and blocked the entrance with all his might. I'm fine. Go to the second floor to rest. Be good. Gu Mingming frowned. Leah did not look like he was fine. But his words meant that he did not want her to know about something. Leah never hid anything from her. What's wrong? Tell me, we can think of a solution together. Leah frowned and looked straight into Gu Mingming's eyes. Seeing her determined and worried look, he smiled bitterly. I know what Cole wants to do. Ha! Gu Mingming did not understand. It was already winter. Even if Cole was from the Snow Fox tribe, he could not roam outside for a long time. Moreover, as a stray beast, he was afraid of Gu Mingming. How could he appear at this time to cause trouble? Leah clenched his teeth and said hatefully, "This year is the year when the females of the Snow Fox tribe collectively go into estrus." After Leah said that, he glanced at the entrance of the secret passageway. His meaning was self-evident. The females of the Snow Fox tribe had already gone into estrus. Leah was afraid that Gu Mingming would be affected, so he sealed the entrance tightly with beast skin. Open the door. A weak voice came from behind the door. Gu Mingming listened carefully and realized that there were already many obscene sounds forming. Miranda was probably the only one who dared to call Leah Aya. Save me. Aya, save me. Do you want me to experience what happened in the past again? Miranda's voice became shrill with fear and despair. She wailed at the top of her lungs, Aya, I beg you. Save me. Open the door and let me hide. No. Don't touch me. I don't want to. Don't touch me. Aya, save me. Gu Mingming frowned and said, Open the door, I will go in. Leah hugged Gu Mingming and said, No way, the males and females inside have all lost their senses. What if you go in and bump into them? Gu Mingming said, I am the Beast King. I can directly release my beast pressure when I enter and suppress them all. That won't do. I won't take any risks. Lee's eyes were bloodshot. He was also from the Snow Fox tribe and would definitely be affected by the group estrus. In the past, he managed to avoid it when he left his hometown, but now that he was so close to it, it was impossible for him to remain indifferent. He also had a natural yearning for that maze, just like how all the wolves yearned for Elvis. It was an instinct to get close to it. But for Gu Mingming, he was trying his best to resist this instinct. Chapter 1336. Leah frowned and bit down on his lower lip. Gu Mingming was not as ruthless as he was, and he already knew that. He could turn a blind eye to Miranda's pleas for help, but Gu Mingming could not. Just as Leah had said, he was not a kind person. Apart from Gu Mingming, he did not care about anyone else. But Gu Mingming had a kind nature, and could not stand to see someone being humiliated in front of her without doing anything. Nodding, Leah looked at Elvis and said, Be careful. Elvis tore off the beast skin blocking the entrance and pushed open the door. At the same time, Leah punched the snow sealing the entrance of the stone castle, allowing air to flow in. In an instant, the entire house was filled with the fox's seductive fragrance along with the chilly wind, engulfing this originally warm and cozy place. Elvis stepped into the secret tunnel and released his beast pressure with a shake of his body. Instantly there was complete silence. Because the secret tunnel was winding, the beast pressure could not spread very far, so only the orcs within a certain range were affected. The concentration of the fox's seductive fragrance was too high, and even Elvis could not withstand it for long. So, he only carried Miranda out and quickly retreated out of the secret tunnel. Then he closed the door of the secret tunnel and sealed it up with layers of beast skin. The silence did not last for long before waves of exhaustion came again. The beast skin that Miranda was wearing had long been torn to pieces. In just a short period of time, her body was covered in bruises, as if she had been ravaged by someone. There was some dirt on her body, probably from some male who had already done it but had not finished venting. She transformed her tail to cover her body and curled up in a corner of the room, shivering. She looked at Leah with her charming peach blossom eyes, looking extremely pitiful. Go upstairs and turn left. The room at the very end is empty. Go in yourself and close the door. Don't come out again. Or else I will either throw you back into the secret tunnel or throw you outside. Gu Mingming gritted her teeth and said. Miranda looked at Gu Mingming with bloodshot eyes and laughed coldly. All right, don't you just want to imprison me? I'm used to being imprisoned anyway, so you don't have to threaten me like this. I'll obediently be imprisoned by you and let you enjoy torturing me. But I wish you good luck. I wish that you will never be detested by Aya. Otherwise, what happened to me today will be your tomorrow. Don't think that he belongs to you just because you mate with him. There is no such thing as loyalty in the Snow Fox clan. With that, Miranda dragged her broken body up the stairs and followed Gu Mingming's instructions to the left. She walked to the room at the end and closed the door, locking herself inside. Gu Mingming really wanted to slap herself. It was not like she had never heard of the story of the farmer and the snake. How could she not understand such a simple logic? All the pitiful people in the world must have a detestable side. Moreover, this mass estrus had been a secret of the Snow Fox clan for thousands of years. Why did she have to get involved and interfere? He had no choice but to get himself into trouble. But with her character, she just could not turn a deaf ear to those pitiful cries for help. Meng Meng. Li's body was getting hotter and hotter as he hugged Gu Mingming. His gaze started to blur and he called out to Gu Mingming. Meng Meng, I feel terrible. I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself. Knock me out. I can't hold it in anymore. Meng Meng. Meng Meng, I feel terrible. Chapter 1337. Gu Mingming's heart tightened as she asked, Are you also affected by the fox seductive fragrance? Elvis nodded his head awkwardly and said, The purity is too high, I can't resist it. Damn it, she couldn't even resist when the two of them were deeply in love. Now that she was seduced by the fox seductive fragrance, if they really went crazy, she would die in bed. She didn't care about anything else as she had the power of a beast king to protect her body and she would recover after a few days. But the problem was that the females of the Snow Fox tribe would go into estrus for a month, and when she fainted, there was still Miranda upstairs. Who knew if someone else would jump out from the secret tunnel? Gu Mingming gritted her teeth and hardened her heart to knock Leah out first. Elvis panted heavily as he walked towards Gu Mingming step by step. He pulled Gu Mingming's hand and placed it on his chest and said, My heart, you have touched it once before. You should know where it is, right? What are you doing? Gu Mingming had a bad premonition. Elvis's forehead was full of sweat, but he forced a smile and said, If I lose control and do anything to betray or hurt you, dig out my heart and eat it. That way you will have 2 drops of tear of the beast deity. With the support of 2 beast kings, you will not have to worry under any circumstances. Do you remember? Elvis, calm down. Gu Mingming roared. Elvis shook his head with all his might, as if he wanted to shake off the turbid thoughts in his head. But it was a pity that he could not do so. The more he shook, the more blurred his vision became. His body was boiling and he could not control it at all. His breathing became heavier and heavier and his chest was burning with pain from his heavy breathing. Something seemed to be tumbling in his throat and his mouth felt parched. Gu Mingming placed Leah at the side and held Elvis's face with both hands. She said, Hubby, look at me. I am Xiaoming's partner. Xiaoming, ha Xiaoming. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming tightly in his arms. His entire body was trembling and his consciousness was slowly fading away. All that was left was his primitive desire. If only I am not a beast king, then you can knock me out like how you did with Leah. At least I will not hurt you. Xiaoming. Gu Mingming took the initiative to kiss Elvis's lips and forced a calm smile. It's all right, nothing will happen to you. Was it just the fox seductive fragrance? You just want me, don't you? I'll give it to you. I'll satisfy you. It's okay. Don't be afraid. Don't worry, okay? Elvis's eyes were bloodshot as he hugged Gu Mingming tightly. On one hand, it was to appease his own emotions, and on the other hand, it was to restrict himself from doing anything more overboard. He clenched his teeth and said, I can't have you in this situation. I can't control myself, you will get hurt. If I want to hurt you, I'd rather you cut out my heart and kill me now. It's not that serious, hubby. It's okay, it's just mating. We're partners. It's normal for me to mate with you. I trust you. You won't hurt me. Moreover, it did not matter even if he was injured or in pain. As long as she endured it, Elvis would regain his consciousness once the effects of the fox's seductive fragrance on him wore off. He would not kill her after all. Chapter 1338. Once the wall collapsed, a huge layer of snow poured into the stone castle, almost burying Gu Mingming alive. This change was too sudden and Gu Mingming stood rooted to the ground, not knowing how to react. However, in a split second, a black shadow came over and Gu Mingming felt that she was being protected by something. Then she heard the sound of snow crashing down. Gu Mingming did not regain her senses for a long time, until a familiar voice came from above her head. Scared silly? Gu Mingming looked up and stared blankly for a while before saying, Gregory? Gregory? Didn't you return to Moda Mountains? Why are you here? Gregory sighed and did not answer Gu Mingming's question. Instead, he opened his wings forcefully and pushed the accumulated snow to the sides. Gu Mingming then realized that Gregory had wrapped his wings around her, using his body as a bomb shelter to protect her. Before she could thank him, Gu Mingming hurriedly dug the snow at the side, shouting as she dug, Elvis! Elvis! Leah! Leah! Gregory did not say a word and just used his wings to sweep the snow away for her. Then he pulled out the unconscious Elvis and Leah from the snow. It's not safe to stay here for long, do you have any other plans? Gregory looked at Gu Mingming and asked. Gu Mingming hesitated for a while. She wanted to say that she could return to Saint Nazaire, but the snow had been falling for almost a month and Saint Nazaire had long been buried in the snow. Not to mention that Gregory did not know where Saint Nazaire was. Even if he knew, she would not be able to find her cave in the snow. Gregory looked at Gu Mingming's hesitant look and asked, Why not follow me to Moda Mountains? Gu Mingming looked up at Gregory and asked, Can I? Gregory chuckled and said, Aren't you the messenger of the beast deity? Aren't the rules set by you in the beast world? Gu Mingming smiled helplessly. The situation before her was really terrible enough. No matter how she looked at it, she looked like a downtrodden Cinderella. How did she look like the high and mighty messenger of the beast deity? Raising her head, Gu Mingming combed her messy hair and patted the beast's skin on her, saying, Yes, I am the messenger of the beast deity, I set the rules in the beast world. If the beast deity gets angry because you brought me up the mountain without permission, I'll take the blame. After all, I'm the only daughter of the beast deity, my father will always open the back door for me. Gregory stretched out his hand wanting to touch Gu Mingming's head, but his hand froze in midair and did not touch her. He turned around and landed by his side, then turned around and spread his wings saying, Come up. Gu Mingming was a little hesitant. This isn't good, right? Being on the back was a very sacred ritual. In the relationship between the sexes in the beast world, a male's last dignity was his own back. Many males would die for their female without blinking an eye, but they would never allow her to ride on their backs. Sandy and Colin had been partners for several years, but until now, Colin had never carried Sandy on his back. Ian had carried Gu Mingming on his back once and almost threatened to kill himself to make Gu Mingming swear not to tell anyone about it. Chapter 1339. Gu Mingming was extremely cold. Under such circumstances she could not continue being unreasonable. If she hesitated any longer, she would not need to ascend the Moda Mountains as she would be frozen into a human-shaped popsicle. Hence, Gu Mingming climbed onto Gregory's back without another word. Gregory waited for Gu Mingming to settle down before transforming into his beast form and soaring into the sky. After transforming into a beast, Gregory's body was covered with a layer of feathers. Gu Mingming sank into his feathers and she could feel Gregory's body temperature through the layer of fine fur. The first time he flapped his wings, Gu Mingming could feel the strong and forceful movement of the muscles on his back. There was a feeling of clogging in her ears, probably caused by the sudden increase in air pressure. It was similar to the feeling when sitting on a plane. Gu Mingming did not know how high up in the sky she was, nor did she know which tribe she was standing on. She was clearly not very familiar with Gregory, but such a broad back undeniably gave Gu Mingming a sense of security. Gu Mingming laid her face sideways on Gregory's back. As it was really too cold outside, she could only keep moving closer to him, seeking the warmth from his body. Such behavior was not appropriate, but Gu Mingming could not withstand the cold, nor could she resist the temptation of warmth. Biting her lower lip, Gu Mingming said, Gregory, don't worry. I will definitely not tell anyone about me being on your back. If one day someone finds out and other females find you unfaithful, I will take responsibility and introduce you to a wife." Gregory's eyes darkened. Luckily he was in his beast form now and Gu Mingming could not see his expression, so he could try his best to be sad and upset. He really wanted to tell her that being responsible was not this way. His back could only accommodate her alone. If she really wanted to take responsibility for him, she should have taken him in as a partner. But he could not say that, right? If he said it, she might just run away. He should be content with the current situation. At least, he had played the role of her hero when she was in danger. She was lying on his back now, soft and light. Every breath she took was like a light tap on his heart, making his blood boil. She must not know that the warmth she was craving now was all because of her. After flying for a full 3 days and 3 nights, Gregory stopped at the edge of a cave on a cliff. Gu Mingming finally landed on the ground. She could not even stand properly and sat down at the side. Elvis and Leah had already woken up halfway through the journey, but they did not speak. Both of them saw Gu Mingming coming down from Gregory's back, but chose to ignore it as if they had a tacit understanding. When Joshua and Victor confessed to Gu Mingming, the two of them could question Gu Mingming in a fit of jealousy because they knew very well that Gu Mingming did not fancy those two fellows. So no matter how they asked, they would only get the answer they wanted. But Gregory was different. His looks did not lose to Leah and his abilities did not lose to Elvis. With his physique, it was very likely that he would rise 2 levels after mating. This kind of love rival was not to be underestimated. Elvis and Leah were both extremely afraid of hearing Gu Mingming's affirmation, so they chose not to ask. Grace had carried her on the flight for 3 days and she hadn't eaten for 3 days. Her stomach was rumbling with hunger, and when she was on Grace's back, she almost fainted. Just as she was about to take a bite, she remembered that the 4 people sitting here had not eaten for 3 days. Everyone was hungry and it didn't seem right for her to eat alone. Chapter 1341. You can eat it yourself, I'm not hungry. Gregory replied calmly. Actually, he did not tell Gu Mingming that food was scarce in Moda Mountains and these few birds could be her entire food supply for the entire winter. After eating these, he could only tear off his own legs to feed her. He had to keep his wings or else he would not be able to send her back tomorrow after winter ends. If she was a legless bird in the future she could only fly in the sky non-stop. Gu Mingming looked at the bird leg in her hands and then at Elvis and Leah. She smiled helplessly. Perhaps it was because Elvis and Leah had taken too good care of her that she had almost forgotten that the winter season in the beast world was also known as the season of death. Before she came here, the females even survived by eating their own partners. Food in this environment was so precious. And how could the males bear to share the food of the females? That was equivalent to taking the lives of the females. Sighing, Gu Mingming said, I know you are worried about the problem of food, but I only need to stay here for a month. After a month we can return to Sauter. There is still plenty of food stored in my stone castle and we won't starve to death. But if you don't eat, how are you going to fly the 3 of us back after a month? You are the most important one among us now and we cannot afford any mishaps. Leah nodded and said, that's the logic. If there isn't enough food, you can eat me first. If I can't last for a month after you eat me, then eat Elvis. As long as you can promise to take good care of Gu Mingming and bring her back to the land safely, it will be fine. Gu Mingming twisted Lee's ear and said with a black face, how many times have I said this? I don't eat partners. I'm not a pervert. I was wrong. Good Gu Mingming, don't be angry at me. Leah tilted his head and fell into Gu Mingming's arms, using his large furry tail to wrap around her waist. He smiled and said, I won't spout nonsense anymore, forgive me, huh? Gu Mingming nodded reluctantly and said, I'll let you off this time. Leah leaned his face forward and said, don't be angry at me, just one kiss. Give me a kiss and I'll believe that you've forgiven me. Gu Mingming chuckled and kissed Lee's face. Leah said contentedly, I knew my baby Mingming is the best. Don't try to bewitch me. If you dare say something like that again, I'll wring your ears off. Leah nodded as if he did not dare to disobey her. He vowed solemnly, I will not speak nonsense again. That's more like it. Leah took over the bird leg from Gu Mingming's hands and passed it to Gregory, smiling. I was just joking just now, you don't have to worry about the food. Although it's not convenient for us to return to Sauter now, there are people in Zacharias and Saint Nazir who have prepared food reserves for Mingming. It's just that you'll have to bring me back to retrieve the food. Gu Mingming tilted her head. Why would Zacharias and Saint Nazir have my food reserves? Did you and Elvis prepare it? Chapter 1342. Although the leader of Zacharias is Burke, don't forget that the real decision-makers are Xianhu and Xixian. Xianhu may be rash, but he treats you well from the bottom of his heart. Xixian is also someone who is used to being prepared. With the two of them together, I'm afraid they have prepared enough food for the three of us to kill our way over. Leah waved his tail and said calmly. Gu Mingming looked enlightened. Since that's the case, let's return to Zacharias now. I want to be with Xianhu and Xixian. Gregory's face darkened at Gu Mingming's words, but he quickly regained his composure and pretended that nothing had happened. He thought that he would be able to spend at least another month with her this time. But she was going to leave so soon, even though he had already tried his best not to cause trouble for her, not to let his feelings become a burden to her, and even tried his best to reduce his presence. But she still had to leave. Leah shook his head and grinned. Since we are already at Moda Mountains, how can we return empty-handed? Gu Mingming's lips twitched. You won't? We didn't prepare anything and you want to go up Moda Mountains to retrieve the love of the sky? Leah hugged Gu Mingming and kissed her. Then when you retrieved the kiss of the ocean, soul of the forest and heart of the desert, what else did you prepare other than yourself, Elvis and me? Gu Mingming, that made so much sense that she was speechless. Instinctively, she glanced at Gregory. After all, in this situation, not to mention retrieving the love of the sky, they had to rely on him to get out of this cave. Even if there were 4 people in this cave, 2 beast kings and 1 4th-level beast, the one who had the absolute authority in this environment was Gregory, a 3rd-level beast. Receiving Gu Mingming's gaze, Gregory did not speak and just stared back at her calmly. Gu Mingming did not know why she had suddenly entered a game where the person who blinked first would lose. But in the end, she could not win against Gregory with her glare and gave up first. She lowered her head and said, although I am not in a position to make any requests now, I really want the love of the sky. Can you help me please? Gregory replied, all right. Gu Mingming looked up at Gregory in astonishment. His eyes were still as calm as ever, without a trace of emotion. What Gu Mingming could not see through was the agitated heart beneath that pair of calm eyes. Gregory hid it very well. He could not reveal what was on his mind, or else she would only run even faster and further away. She was most defenseless in front of him when he had just arrived at Sauter and made it clear that he hated her. The days when they didn't like each other were the days when they got along the most. Gregory thought that he might be crazy. Otherwise, why would he miss the past him who hated her so much? If he couldn't really hate her, then he should at least pretend to be good enough to let her stay for a few more days, right? You're straightforward, but I'm not in a hurry either. If you have any requests, just tell me. I will try my best to satisfy them. After all, it's hard to repay a debt of gratitude. If it drags on for too long, it'll be troublesome instead. Gu Mingming said heroically. Chapter 1343. Gu Mingming thought about it and felt that Gregory's words made sense, so she nodded in agreement without another word. She then asked, then when can you bring me to get the love of the sky? Gregory slowly heaved a sigh of relief and said, the dry season. Gu Mingming calculated with her fingers, wouldn't that be another half a year? Gregory said, you keep saying that you want to find the love of the sky, but you actually don't even know what it is, right? Gu Mingming smiled awkwardly but still nodded honestly. Gregory chuckled and his lips curled into a doting smile. After realizing himself, he immediately retracted his smile and said with a serious expression, legend has it that 1,000 years ago, a bird tribe fell in love with a walking beast. During the dry season, the walking beast fell into misery due to a lack of water and kept fighting with other orcs, using their blood to quench his thirst. But during the latter half of the dry season, he could not even suck a mouthful of blood out of an orc after biting it to death. Seeing that the walking beast was about to die of thirst, the bird carried an ice cube down from the Moda Mountains to give it to the walking beast. But before the ice could reach the foot of the mountain, it would melt, and by the time it reached the side of the walking beast, not even a drop would be left. The walking beast was on his last breath due to the lack of water. The bird could not bear to see him die just like that, so he disregarded the rules of the tribe and brought the walking beast up the Moda Mountains. The ice melted into water, nourishing the walking beast's dry body but also freezing his heart. He bared his ferocious fangs at the bird and said, since you love me so much, you can't bear to see me starve to death on this mountain, right? Gu Mingming's face twitched. Wasn't this the story of the farmer and the snake? Such a beautiful love story, why did it suddenly turn dark and twisted? Gu Mingming's heart was filled with malice. Gregory continued, the bird was heartbroken and nodded with tears in his eyes, saying, I was infatuated with the wrong person. If you want to eat me, then eat me. But the walking beast did not really hurt the bird. However, the walking beast did not really hurt the bird. The reason why he said that was because someone told him that the bird had broken the rules of the tribe by bringing him up the mountain and would be punished by the gods. The only solution was to kill the walking beast personally to show his repentance. The walking beast knew that it couldn't do it to the bird, so it pretended to be merciless to provoke the bird. All of this is a test given by the bird tribe to the walking beasts. They want to see if he is sincere to the bird tribe and is worthy of the bird tribe's lifelong commitment. Gu Mingming felt that she had eaten a mouthful of dog blood and her facial nerves were a little out of order. Gregory took in all of Gu Mingming's reactions. Even the slightest change in her expression was so vivid and full of energy. She was really adorable. Not daring to reveal too much emotion, Gregory forced himself to turn his face to the other side and continued, "The land beasts have passed the test of the birds and can stay on the Mota Mountains with the birds." But Mota Mountains were filled with precipitous cliffs. Beasts without wings living here were like living in a prison. The bird couldn't bear to see him suffer like this, so it suggested going down the mountain with the walking beast. However, there are treasures on Mota Mountains that are coveted by the beast world. Once the birds leave the mountain, there is a high possibility that they will be used by others to steal the treasures on the mountain, so Gregory's gaze darkened. He turned back to look at Gu Mingming and said, "The birds need to leave behind a pair of wings when they go down the mountain." Gu Mingming covered her mouth in shock. Wasn't that equivalent to chopping off a person's arms? It was too cruel. Chapter 1344. Gu Mingming did not expect the story to unfold like this. She thought the story would end when the beasts attacked the birds. After thinking for a while, Gu Mingming continued asking, "Then, what happened after that?" "After that?" Gregory looked back at Gu Mingming and gave a light smile. There was nothing after that. She broke her own wings and was no longer part of the bird tribe. As for the affairs of other tribes, we have always been indifferent to them. Gu Mingming nodded. Gu Mingming thought for a while and nodded. Not disturbing is also a form of gentleness. Gregory did not say anything. He just lowered his head and pondered over Gu Mingming's words. He was indeed not a gentle person. Gu Mingming leaned against the wall and thought for a long time. But she realized that Gregory did not answer her crucial question. So she asked again, "But since the wings are right there, why do we have to wait until the dry season to retrieve them?" Gregory said calmly, "The Mota Mountains are snowy all year round and the snow is extremely thick. The love of the sky is hidden under the snow and is one with the snow. Even if the vultures can travel through the snow, they will not be able to find its location. So we can only wait until the dry season is the hottest. The snow on the Mota Mountains will melt temporarily. Only then can we see the love of the sky. Moreover, it is only at that time that you can obtain it." Gu Mingming tilted her head and asked, "What do you mean?" Gregory said, "The love of the sky is the source of the wind. The colder the weather, the stronger the wind. Even I will be blown away when I get close to it during the winter. And if you get close to the eye of the wind, there will be fine ice shards in the snow. Not to mention your soft and tender skin, even your wolf partner will be shaved off by the ice shards before he can even get close to the love of the sky. Even his bones will be crushed and blown away by the wind. So, you can only wait until the dry season when the snow melts. Only then can you get close to the love of the sky. As for whether you can take it away, I can't guarantee it. After all, in the past 1,000 years, no one has been to the Mota Mountains, and no one has even gotten close to the love of the sky." Gu Mingming's mouth twitched as she listened. Being sliced by ice sounded like an alarmist story, but Gregory had a face of abstinence and everything he said strangely gave people a sense of authority, making them have no choice but to believe it. After hesitating for a while, Gu Mingming thought for a while and said, "Since that's the case, why do we still need to stay in the Mota Mountains? Why don't we go back to St. Nazir or Zacharias for the winter? Should we come again during the dry season?" Leah and Elvis exchanged glances before smiling. "We will naturally listen to you. We will do whatever you say." But the matter of going back and forth still depended on Gregory's wishes. After all, we don't have wings, right? Gu Mingming used her gaze to ask Gregory, but he did not seem to understand and just continued to stare at her, as if he was going to stare at her until the end of time if Gu Mingming did not speak to him. Gu Mingming cleared her throat and asked awkwardly, "Gregory, can I trouble you to send me to St. Nazir or Zacharias?" "No," Grace answered neatly. "What?" Gu Mingming blurted out. Gregory looked at Gu Mingming quietly for 2 seconds before asking, "On what basis?" Gu Mingming choked. Chapter 1345. Gregory sighed deeply, then stood up and walked to the entrance of the cave. With his back facing Gu Mingming, he said, "You guys can leave by yourselves if you want to, I won't stop you." After he finished speaking, he spread his wings and flew away, disappearing into the snowstorm. The location of this cave was very special. There was a protruding rock above the entrance of the cave, causing the accumulated snow to be unable to block the entrance of the cave. Hence, Elvis and Leah dug out more space in the cave. After making a few turns, the cold wind could no longer blow directly at Gu Mingming. Moreover, Elvis and Leah always maintained their original forms to hug Gu Mingming and block the wind for her, so Gu Mingming did not feel particularly cold. But, no matter how much space she had to move around, Gu Mingming still felt like she was in a prison. Although she had also been cooped up in a cave for the entire winter in Saint Nazaire, but staying in her own house and being trapped were two different concepts. Leah leaned against the entrance of the cave and looked down. He shook his head with a bitter smile and said, "At this height, if we want to dig all the way down, we will probably have to dig until the next messenger of the beast deity dies." Gu Mingming pouted unhappily and said, "Why is this Gregory so weird? How can he fall out with us so easily? I thought he was a good person after he saved us." Elvis caressed Gu Mingming's little face and kissed her furrowed brows. He said, "The males in the beast world are all good partners, but none of them are good people. The good people that you think can never survive in the beast world." Gu Mingming twitched her lips and thought about it. Her little face fell and she said, "Then what should we do now?" He flew away just like that. "We don't know how to fly, let alone return to Saint Nazaire, we can't even leave this place." Leah swayed his tail and said, "Don't worry, he won't let us starve to death here." Gu Mingming mumbled, "But I don't want to spend the winter here." Elvis pinched Gu Mingming's little face and said, "Don't be angry, there will always be a way." Gregory had trapped Gu Mingming here because he wanted to stay by her side for a while longer and find a chance to nurture their relationship. He liked Gu Mingming, so he would definitely not hurt her. The only ones in danger were probably Elvis and Leah, the two males. After all, their deaths would be the most advantageous situation for Gregory. The plan did not need to be too complicated. As long as Gregory did not appear for a long period of time and did not send food over, Elvis and Leah would definitely kill themselves and cook themselves into delicacies for Gu Mingming so that she would not starve to death. Then, after Gu Mingming had eaten Elvis and Leah and was starved to the extreme, Gregory would appear again and he would be able to possess Gu Mingming effortlessly. In the beast world, it was not news that a man would resort to unscrupulous means to mate with a female he liked. Furthermore, Elvis and Leah would not accuse Gregory of being despicable because of this. Wooing his own female depended entirely on his own abilities. If the two of them were to die here, they could only lament that they were not as skilled as others. Leah chuckled, not at all concerned about Gregory's possible choice. As long as Gu Mingming was safe, he did not mind much about his own life and death. Moreover, the above methods might be effective on other females but not on Gu Mingming. Chapter 1346. Moreover, as long as either he or Elvis was injured, Gu Mingming would definitely blame it on Gregory. By then, forget about mating. As long as Gregory dared to appear, Gu Mingming would capture him and skin him alive. Yeah, that was not a good memory. After experiencing Snake's death, Leah and Elvis swore that they would never let Gu Mingming face their deaths unless they had no other choice. For this weak little female, the two of them who were known for their ruthlessness had actually learned to be afraid of death. Since they could not get out, Elvis pulled Gu Mingming's little hand and said, "Xiaoming, there's something, you should answer me soon." Gu Mingming tilted her head and looked at Elvis in confusion. Elvis took a deep breath and said, "I remember that when you first arrived at Saint Nazaire, you kept calling me old godmother. I asked you the reason and you said you had become dumb for 3 years after pregnancy, so you forgot. Now that Huda and his brothers are already 3 years old, you should be out of your stupor. Shouldn't you answer me what old godmother is?" Gu Mingming was stunned for a moment, then instinctively covered her mouth with both her hands and shook her head with widened eyes. Damn it, she could not say that. If Elvis knew that old godmother was the corresponding form of address for Daddy Leah, and that it was a submissive one, Elvis would probably carry her and jump down the cave. Seeing Gu Mingming's reaction, Elvis only chuckled. It had been 3 years, and he already had a certain understanding of her strange words. In fact, he already knew what Lao godmother meant. But she was not in a good mood because she was trapped here, so Elvis could only use this topic to divert her attention. Teasing her was an extremely interesting thing. Elvis held onto one of Gu Mingming's wrists and said softly, "I remember that when Sandy was giving birth, You said you were going to call Joseph and his brother's godsons when you were guarding the cave, so they should call you? Gu Mingming's body went limp and she hung into Elvis's arms. Her voice rose by an octave, almost as if it was a voice changer. Hubby, a man should have his own cleavage and shouldn't be bothered by the small details, don't you think so? Elvis raised his brows and looked at Gu Mingming, smiling without a word. Gu Mingming swallowed her saliva, then smiled and said, moreover, who hasn't been young and ignorant before? Hubby, you are so magnanimous, don't argue with a little girl like me. It's shameful to act cute. Elvis smiled indulgently, tapping Gu Mingming's little nose lightly. Gu Mingming stuck out her tongue and rubbed her face against Elvis's chest. But it's useful. Don't use it on outsiders. Elvis's words meant that he had agreed to let her off. Gu Mingming hurriedly nodded and said, I only do this to you and Leah, I don't need to do this to outsiders. If anyone dares to provoke me, I will just slap him to the ground and make him unable to get up. Looking at Gu Mingming's fierce look, Elvis felt that she was so adorable. He hugged and kissed her, saying, so imposing. Elvis and Leah did not eat the birds that Gregory sent over because with their appetites, these few birds were not even enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. But they were enough to support Gu Mingming for 4 to 5 days. Chapter 1347. Looking at the thing in Gregory's hands, Gu Mingming was dumbfounded. Isn't this the wine barrel I placed in solder? Gu Mingming looked up at Gregory in surprise. Gregory placed the wine barrel at the side, then opened the lid and said, I have brought back some of the prey that you stored in solder. Gu Mingming remembered that when they flew from Solder to Mota Mountains, Gregory brought her Elvis and Leah and flew for 3 days without rest. So during the 6 days Gregory disappeared, he went to Solder to get food for her? Gu Mingming lowered her head as she thought about how she scolded Gregory for the past 2 days. She felt rather guilty. Gu Mingming had not eaten for a day, so the moment Gregory placed the food down, the first thing Leah did was to check the food. After confirming that there was no problem, he immediately started to prepare it. Gregory looked at Elvis and Leah and said, You two can eat together. Elvis and Leah turned back to look at Gregory with obvious questions on their faces. Gregory said, I met a crippled snow fox in Solder. He gave me all these food. Crippled snow fox, Gu Mingming frowned. Cole went to Solder again? Damn it, he's really haunting me. No way, Hutta, Jianghu and Sandy are all in Solder. I have to go back. I have to go back now. Gregory took out a comb made from the horns of a gigantic beast. That fox asked me to pass this to you. He said he will guard Solder for you. When you return this to him. As long as this thing is intact, the Solder he returns to you will be intact. In other words, if this stupid comb was damaged, Solder would suffer a similar loss. If it was lost, he would massacre the entire Solder tribe? Gu Mingming said, Haha, this Cole is so arrogant. Could it be that he ate stinky tofu that was left overnight? He has to have the ability to massacre the entire tribe of Solder. Leah took the comb from Gregory's hands and gently stroked it. He frowned before passing it to Elvis. Take a look. Elvis took the comb in confusion and touched it. Then he sneered and said, Xiaoming, the current Cole might really have such an ability. Gu Mingming was confused. She took the comb and touched it but could not feel anything. She tilted her head and looked at Elvis in confusion. Leah hugged Gu Mingming and said, You are not sensitive to beast pressure so you can't feel it. The remnant beast pressure here is at the level of a beast king. Gu Mingming was stunned. He got the spirit of the rocky cliffs? Leah remained silent for a moment before pursing his lips. It could also be the kiss of the ocean or the soul of the forest. Gu Mingming was stunned for 2 seconds before her eyes turned bloodshot. Gritting her teeth, she grabbed onto Gregory's arm and said, Send me to Solder now, immediately. Leah hugged Gu Mingming and whispered into her ear, Mingming, calm down. How can I calm down? That bastard might have hurt my son. Chapter 1348. No, I can't be anxious here. I want to go back and find him now. Xianxian was a thorn in Gu Mingming's heart. As long as Cole touched him, Gu Mingming would lose her rationality. No matter how reasonable Lee's analysis was, she could not calm down. Cole was a lunatic. Who could guarantee that a lunatic would weigh the pros and cons of doing things? Gregory looked at the agitated Gu Mingming and said slowly. He also said, Gu Mingming stopped struggling and allowed Leah to hug her. She then glared at Gregory with a face full of hatred, as if she could stare at Cole through him. Gregory actually felt a little creeped out by Gu Mingming's glare. On one hand it was because Gu Mingming was the Beast King. On the other hand, try being stared at by a girl you like. If it was you, you would also feel creeped out. Pursing his lips, Gregory cleared his throat and continued. He said to let you spend the winter in Mota Mountains in peace. When the monsoon season comes next year, he will give you a big present. Rest your mother's balls. Gu Mingming pushed Leah away and grabbed Gregory's wrist again. Bring me back to solder. I want to go back now. Gregory did not move. He just looked at Gu Mingming quietly. After a long while he shook his head. I still have the same words. If you want to go, you can go by yourself. I will not stop you. Gu Mingming grabbed her head and spun around on the spot. After 2 rounds she pressed Gregory against the wall. If you don't bring me back, I will kill you. Gregory's lips curled up. He chuckled. Go ahead. Gu Mingming raised her hand and aimed at Gregory's heart. But no matter how angry or worried she was, Gu Mingming still had a bottom line. Grace had saved her life when she was in trouble. If she wanted to kill Grace, she would be biting the hand that fed her. She would be the frozen snake. Swinging her hand, Gu Mingming suddenly smiled. She looked at Gregory. I heard that you like me. Gregory's blood froze. He looked at Gu Mingming and frowned. The secret that he tried so hard to hide was exposed to the sunlight. It made his heart feel uncomfortable. Gu Mingming retreated step by step and chuckled, Send me back or I will jump down from here. Even if I have the strength of a beast king, there's no saving me if I fall and turn into meat paste. Gregory frowned and his gaze drifted towards Elvis and Leah. He said coldly, If you jump down, the 2 of them will be the first to die with you. Gu Mingming raised her head and said, No, Elvis is a beast king and Leah is a 4th-level warrior. Both of them can withstand the backlash of the mating contract. Gu Mingming took another small step back and glared at Gregory with a face full of determination. Don't talk nonsense, I'm only asking you one question. Are you sending me back? Gregory still stood there without moving. He was betting that Gu Mingming was lying, betting that she could not bear to really jump down. Gu Mingming clenched her teeth and nodded. All right, don't regret it. With that, Gu Mingming's entire body leaned backwards and fell straight out. In that instant, the blood of the 3 males in the cave froze. Elvis's reaction was the fastest. He immediately flew out to pull Gu Mingming into his arms and hugged her tightly. Along with the howling cold wind, Elvis only said one sentence. If you want to die, I will accompany you. Xianxian has had a hard life since young and has always been controlled by Cole. It wasn't easy for me to snatch him back. What if Cole really did something to Xianxian? I can't control myself at the thought of this. I'm sorry, hubby, you're injured, let me treat your wound first. The words of reprimand were stuck in his throat, drowned out by Gu Mingming's tears. Elvis just shook his head and said, It's just a small injury, as long as you're fine, no one can take my life. Chapter 1350. Leah had originally planned to not let Gu Mingming off so easily this time. Otherwise, this little woman would become more and more daring and he did not know what she would do next time. But seeing her sobbing like she was about to suffocate, Lee's heart also throbbed painfully. Sighing, he walked to Gu Mingming's side and reached out his slender fingers to gently wipe away her tears. Gritting his teeth, he said, You are taking advantage of the fact that we can't do anything to you, so you deliberately want to torture us like this, right? Gu Mingming's shoulders trembled as she looked at Leah with pursed lips and reddened eyes. Shaking her head pitifully, she said, I jumped down not to kill myself. I just wanted to force Gregory to send me back to solder. I never thought that you and Elvis would jump down after me. Leah was so angry that he pinched Gu Mingming's little nose harshly and said, Don't you know how important you are to Elvis and me? Alright, Gu Mingming, let me tell you, the moment I jumped down after you, I was thinking of the moment I landed on the ground. I need to be under you and die with you just so that you won't feel so much pain before you fall to your death. Do you think that I won't jump down with you like this? Elvis pushed Lee's hand away and frowned, saying, She is already scared to death, don't say any more. Leah took a deep breath and turned to look at Elvis, saying, Are you going to let her do whatever she wants just like that? Other things are fine, but she clearly promised us that she would protect herself for you and me and not let herself get hurt. She clearly knows that if she gets hurt even a little, it would be destroying our hearts. But what about her? When she jumped down from here, did she even think about our feelings? For Xianxian, how many times has she abandoned us? I said that's enough. Elvis's face was cold and his brows were filled with anger. Leah nodded and smiled bitterly, saying, Your indulgence will cause her to die sooner or later. If I had known earlier, I would not have given up the position of the first partner to you for the sake of the bigger picture. I should have brought her far away and hidden her. Then there would be no Cole, no Xianxia, and she would not jump across the lake and then the cliff. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming with one hand and raised his other hand to strangle Li's neck. His wolf eyes were a deep blue, surging with a mysterious aura. He exuded a dangerous aura. I warned you before, don't challenge the authority of the first partner. Gu Mingming had never seen Elvis and Leah fight when they were sober. The two of them always had the same tacit understanding and had the same goal. They had once fought each other in a drunken stupor and even acted out a conflict to deceive Cole. But based on her understanding of Elvis and Leah, she could clearly tell that the two of them were really going against each other and they were both angry, and it was obvious that she was the one who had angered them, and they couldn't bear to lose their temper on her, so they vented their anger on each other. Gu Mingming held onto Elvis's wrist and said, hubby, don't be angry, it's all my fault, I shouldn't have fooled around on impulse. I won't dare to do it again, I really won't. Hurry and let go, if you don't, Leah will be strangled to death by you. Elvis's gaze was fixed on Gu Mingming. His thin lips were pressed into a straight line and the complicated look in his eyes made Gu Mingming's heart ache. Chapter 1351. If you are still angry, then hit me. I have the power of a beast king, I can take more hits. As Gu Mingming said, she stretched out her little hand with her palm facing upwards. She shrank her neck back to hide, looking at Elvis with a fearful yet unwilling expression. Elvis took a deep breath and let go of Li's neck. He held Gu Mingming's little hand tightly and said, you're a little liar. You didn't do a single thing that you promised me. Gu Mingming looked at Elvis. Gu Mingming knew she was in the wrong and did not dare to retort. She just nodded and said, yeah, I am a liar. Elvis did not know whether to laugh or cry at her behavior. He sighed and the turbid air in his chest dissipated. Gu Mingming saw that Elvis's expression had improved and she turned to look at Leah. She tugged at his arm and said, good Leah, I know you are angry with me. I was rash and jumped without thinking about the consequences. But as soon as I jumped down, I regretted it. When I saw your disappointed and sorrowful eyes looking at me, my heart ached terribly. I really won't dare to do it again. Please forgive me this time, okay? Just this once. Leah looked at Gu Mingming and asked, can your words still be trusted? Little liar. We can believe it, we can believe it. Gu Mingming held onto Li's arm and pleaded pitifully with her little face up, I have decided to repent and turn over a new leaf. Really, I will not lie in the future. Could her promise be trusted? Leah knew in his heart that it could not be trusted at all. Once this girl was involved with someone she cared about, she would lose her rationality and act without caring about the consequences. But what else could he do even if he did not believe her? He could not let her go, could not bear to part with her and could not do anything to her. After all, how was he different from her? When he saw her jump into the cave, he also could not think about anything else and only wanted to follow her through life and death. He grabbed onto Gu Mingming's shoulders and pulled her into his arms tightly. Both of them knew very well how much unease that seemingly punishing force brought. Then tell me, how can I trust you? When you met Xianxia, when did you not consider the consequences? Gu Mingming allowed Leah to hug her tightly. She knew that this was the only way for him to calm his fear. She did not struggle and instead hugged him back gently. Her soft body leaned against Li's chest and she replied softly, then don't I still have a partner who is the wisest person in the world? In the future, if we encounter something like this, I will leave it to you to make arrangements. I believe that you will have a solution, right? There's no use in bootlicking. Li's lips curved into a helpless smile. Why couldn't the words he used to criticize Elvis be used on himself? They could not do anything to this little woman. Gu Mingming kissed Li's chest lightly and said, I won't let you feel this pain again. All right. Leah hugged Gu Mingming and sighed before continuing, be good and rest here for another 20 days. After 20 days I will bring you back to solder, all right? Gu Mingming looked up at Leah and asked, you have a solution? Leah chuckled. You already said that I am the wisest person in the beast world. I can't let you down. In order for you to trust me enough and think of me to solve any problems in the future instead of fooling around, I must have a solution, right? Gu Mingming lowered her head and did not say another word. Chapter 1353. Gregory looked at Gu Mingming worriedly but did not say a word or move. Leah chuckled and said, don't worry, Xiaoming doesn't treasure her own life but regards Elvis and I as precious. For the both of us, she won't do anything foolish again. Leah said this with enough certainty that made Gregory feel at ease and extremely jealous at the same time. Gregory did not stay any longer and just transformed into a vulture. He used his claws to grab Leah out of the cave and flew into a cave on another mountain. This cave had a completely different style from the one Gu Mingming was in now. There was a forest of strange rocks and dilapidated cliffs, giving the illusion of being in the mouth of a devil. But Leah did not mind too much. After all, it was just a place to talk and it was fine as long as Gu Mingming could not hear them. Cole must have promised you something, right? Leah leaned against the wall casually and calmly. He smiled at Gregory and said, "You don't have to deny it. You and I are both males and we both wanted Gu Mingming but could not get her. If there's anyone in the beast world who can understand your current feelings, it's probably me. Because only I know how ruthless she can be when she sets her heart on something. She did not even say a word of rejection but could use her gaze and actions to torture us to the point where there's nothing left unscathed. But, even though it's as painful as a million ants drilling into our hearts, we can't help but continue to approach her while screaming in pain." Gregory's jaw tightened into a right angle. He did not say a word, neither admitting nor denying. But only he knew that what Leah said was right. Gu Mingming's attempt to please and comfort Elvis and Leah just now was more hurtful than 100 sharp rejections. "It's precisely because I've experienced this that I understand your current state very well. Logically speaking, you should be in a situation where you're trying your best to please her. You don't even need her to make a request. You'll want to present the best in the world to her, just so that she'll look at you a little longer. But, you rejected her request and gave up the chance for her to be indebted to you. This was not an easy thing to do after all. Even Elvis and I would find it extremely difficult to say no in front of her. And you actually did it? So the only logical explanation is that you have a greater temptation of benefits. For example, someone promised you that as long as you trap Ming Ming here for the winter, she will willingly mate with you. You can even replace me or Elvis and become the most important person by Ming Ming's side." Gregory's pupils constricted, and his brows furrowed indiscernibly. Leah chuckled. Looks like I guessed correctly. Did he also tell you that Elvis's mark was on Ming Ming's collarbone, while mine was on her left ear, so her heart was still empty, and he has the ability to help you leave your mark there?" Gregory clenched his fist. Although the wording was different, the meaning was exactly the same. If not for the fact that foxes could never fly, Gregory would have suspected that Leah was hiding in the dark and spying on him. This fox was too terrifying. Leah waved his hands and said, "Don't be so nervous, I just know him too well." Chapter 1354. Although you have only met him once, you can't tell his intentions and greed towards Ming Ming, right? Leah chuckled as he shook his head. Taking a step back, even if you can't see through his true nature as a male, if you were in his shoes, would you help another male to occupy the spot in the female's heart that you want? Gregory clenched his fists and instinctively avoided Leah's eyes. How could he not know what Leah was saying? He was just deceiving himself and others, holding on to a sliver of hope that, what if? Leah waved his tail and mercilessly exposed the fluke in Gregory's heart. As someone who has been through it, I can tell you clearly that my Ming Ming is amenable to coaxing but not coercion. No schemes are as effective as treating her well wholeheartedly. As for what that crippled fox promised you, I can guarantee, he can't do it and no one else in this world can do it. Leah lifted his head and smiled calmly. They were clearly of similar height and Gregory was slightly more muscular. But at that moment, he felt that Leah was high and mighty, like a deity in the clouds looking down at the lovesick men and resentful women in the mortal world. He gave off a sense of detachment and Gregory could not help but believe his words. Leah said, "Cast aside your unrealistic fantasies and think about it seriously. If Elvis and I don't allow it, who can get close to Ming Ming?" Gregory remained silent, but he knew very well that Lee's words were right. Based on Lee's and Elvis's abilities, no one could get close to Gu Ming Ming if they did not allow it. Leah took 2 steps to stand behind Gregory and placed one hand on his shoulder. He whispered into his ear from the other side, "You have already sensed it, right? Back then you were able to hang around Ming Ming because I opened the door for you. But if you bring any dirty things near Ming Ming when you enter through this door, I can only close the door." This is the Moda Mountains. Gregory straightened his spine and said. What he meant was that without him, they would not even be able to leave that cave. Even Leah could not return to Gu Ming Ming's side. Leah chuckled and nodded. "That's right, this is the Moda Mountains. In other words, you are not the only one who can fly here. There was probably no lack of winged beasts here. Tell me, how difficult can it be for me to find someone who is willing to serve the messenger of the beast deity?" Grace frowned and lowered her head. That's right, among the tens of thousands of birds, How many could resist Elvis's threats, Li's temptations and Gu Mingming's beauty? The Eagle Owl tribe was once one of the guards of the Mota Mountains. Now the entire tribe followed Gu Mingming's lead and were completely loyal. But she did not even have a single Eagle Owl tribe partner by her side. She could easily subdue the Eagle Owl clan and the other birds on Mota Mountains. Even his heart that was once as firm as a rock could not stop palpitating because of her. It would be even more difficult for others to resist her charm. As long as she beckoned with her finger, not to mention sending her back to Sodor, even if she had to use pairs of wings to form a bridge for her to walk back to Sodor, these birds would not hesitate to break off their own wings to fulfill her wish. Chapter 1355. What do you want me to do? Gregory asked concisely. Leah gently brushed away the non-existent dust on Gregory's shoulder, then rubbed his fingers and smiled. It's nothing special. You just have to make sure that Mingming doesn't suffer in that cave for the next 20 days and send the three of us back to Sodor safely after 20 days. As long as you can do that, I guarantee that you can continue staying by Mingming's side, of course. Whether she likes you or not, whether she is willing to accept you, will depend on your own abilities and luck. All right. Gregory had no other choice, right? Leah nodded his head in satisfaction and said, Since we've spoken, let's go back. I haven't seen my Mingming for a while and I miss her very much. Gregory ignored Li's pretentious boasting and just grabbed onto his ankle as if he was taking revenge, hanging him upside down and bringing him back to Gu Mingming's cave. Seeing that Leah had returned, Gu Mingming hurriedly went up to him and turned his body around to check the wound on his back. Seeing that the wound had not reopened, she heaved a sigh of relief and said, What were you whispering about, carrying me? Leah placed an arm on Gu Mingming's shoulder and smiled devilishly, saying, Didn't he say that he will only save your partner if you jump off the cliff again? Let me discuss with him and ask him to only save Elvis next time. It will only be clean if I fall to my death, so that he doesn't have to worry about you every day. Leah, Gu Mingming called out Li's name as if she was begging for mercy, causing Li's heart to flutter. He pinched her little face but could not do anything to her. He could only kiss her and say, I don't have a good temper like Elvis. I won't let this matter go so easily, you must be mentally prepared. Wait till you get the love of the sky. I will settle the score with you, do you understand? Settle the score after getting the love of the sky? Gu Mingming thought about it. She was preparing to give birth to little foxes after getting the love of the sky, so Leah was planning to settle the score with her when they were making babies, was that what he meant? Gu Mingming blushed and lightly hammered Li's chest. You're not serious at all. Leah allowed Gu Mingming's weightless fists to land lightly on his chest, allowing her to hit him coquettishly. Seeing how she was behaving coquettishly in his arms, Li's gaze was filled with joy. Fortunately she was fine. Fortunately. As long as she could continue to be so presumptuous in his arms, he could let go of everything. He held Gu Mingming's little fist gently, then lowered his head to kiss her left ear. Gregory saved the three of us once again. We already owe him 6 times for saving our lives. This debt, how do you intend to repay him? Gu Mingming's expression changed. Gu Mingming pursed her lips and peeked her furry little head out from Li's arms. She looked at Gregory, who was standing at the entrance with a face full of ice, and felt a little guilty. How should she put it? At that time, blood rushed to her head and she jumped down without a care. But now that he looked back at Gregory, he didn't have much confidence. After all, Grace was not her partner, and he had no obligation to accommodate her nonsense. Chapter 1356. Gregory pursed his lips and did not say a word. Gu Mingming also felt that only sticking out half her head looked insincere, so she took 2 steps out from Li's arms and walked towards Gregory. But she had only taken the 3rd step when Gregory's expression changed. He frowned and said coldly, Stand there, don't move. Gu Mingming was shocked by Gregory's roar. She remained motionless as if she had stepped on a landmine, looking at Gregory in confusion. Gregory realized that he had overreacted. Gu Mingming obviously did not want to jump off the cliff again. Feeling slightly awkward, he turned his face to the side but could not say a word. Leah stood behind Gu Mingming and exchanged a look with Elvis, laughing at how this Gregory was obviously a hot-tempered brat who had just awakened his first love. Wanting to win Gu Mingming's heart with his skills? It was a long road ahead. Leah pulled Gu Mingming back into his arms and pecked her little face, saying, Rather than saying sorry 100 times, why not do something that's not wrong? Moreover, it's too childish to write off a life-saving debt with just 2 words of, thank you. Gu Mingming thought about it and agreed. She turned to look at Leah and asked, "What about you?" Leah tapped his chin and said, "He saved our family of 3 twice, that's equivalent to 6 lives. We will return him 6 lives, that's only fair." Gu Mingming tilted her head and looked at Leah. She thought for a moment, then nodded seriously and said, "How about this, I owe you 6 lives. If you have anyone you want to kill, tell me and I will help you kill all 6 as repayment. How about that?" Leah and Gregory were both taken aback. Leah facepalmed while trying to hide his smile. Gregory's face froze and he said, "I am a male but I want to rely on a female to kill for me?" Gu Mingming covered her mouth and thought to herself, "I forgot, this beast world has severe gender discrimination. In some matters humans are even more straight men than straight men." Gu Mingming used her elbow to poke Leah and said, "It's all your rotten idea." Leah smiled bitterly and helplessly and said, "I said I will return him 6 lives, but who said I will kill for him?" Then, Gu Mingming was confused. Leah tapped Gu Mingming's little nose and said, "Doesn't Sauter still have a gift for the birds on the Moda Mountains?" "If Miranda." Gu Mingming's eyes lit up and Leah knew that she had thought of something. He continued, "Besides Miranda, we can go to other tribes to exchange for 5 females and send them to the Moda Mountains. In this way, wouldn't it be equivalent to 6 lives of Gregory's leader?" Gu Mingming nodded. "Yeah, this is a good idea. Not only did I return the favor, I also solved the problem of reproduction in Moda Mountains." Leah glanced at Gregory and said slowly, "It's just that it's not easy to exchange females. After all, unless a female committed a grave mistake, no tribe would sell her off easily. So we'll have to trouble leader Gregory to stay in Sauter for a while. After we found all 6 females and returned your favor, you can return to Moda Mountains. Leader Gregory, what do you think?" How could Gregory not understand? This was what Leah said, a way for him to stay by Gu Mingming's side legitimately. Nodding, Gregory said, "All right." Chapter 1357. It was easy to borrow a favor but hard to repay it. Now that Leah had come up with this idea, it was the best of both worlds. Gu Mingming felt that the burden on her heart had lessened by a lot. Leah chuckled as he looked at Gu Mingming's relieved look. This girl really wanted to make things clear with Gregory and was not willing to accept his attentiveness for free. This meant that Gu Mingming really did not have any feelings for Gregory, so she did not even give him a chance to show off. As such, he felt more at ease leaving Gregory by Gu Mingming's side. Come to think of it, he was just another Burke. Every day, Gu Mingming would use a small stone to draw a line on the wall. In the blink of an eye, 20 days had passed. It was the coldest time of the winter, but Gu Mingming insisted on returning to Sauter. Elvis and Leah knew that Gu Mingming couldn't stop worrying about Xianxia. She had already endured so much for the past 20 days, so they didn't want to force her. They would accompany her through the wind and snow. As long as she could be at ease and happy, that was enough. It was not difficult for Gregory to travel through the wind and snow. He did not want to bring her back because he wanted to spend more time with her and also because of Cole's empty promise. Now that he had formed an alliance with Leah and Leah had given him a reason to stay by Gu Mingming's side, he naturally had no need to force Gu Mingming to stay in Moda Mountains. After all, if she really jumped off the cliff again, he would probably go crazy before anything happened to her. Originally, Gregory wanted to carry Gu Mingming on his back and bring Elvis and Leah back with his claws, but Gu Mingming was unwilling. She said that it was a special situation when they came and they had to act according to the urgency of the situation. Although it was also a rush to go back now, it was not as panicky as when they came. There was no reason for Gregory to carry her on his back again. Actually, everyone knew very well that Gu Mingming had made use of the fact that Gregory liked her and forced him into a corner, so she had a knot in her heart. Now that she had exposed the truth, they had to be extra careful when interacting with each other. Gregory knew that she was stubborn and it was useless to force her, so he could only listen to her. The final outcome was that Lee's body was relatively smaller and he curled up in the wooden pail to hug Gu Mingming. Gregory grabbed onto the edge of the wooden pail to bring the two of them along, while Elvis hugged onto Gregory's claws himself. Hence, 3 days later, a strange scene appeared in the sky above Sauter. A spiritual eagle was flying in the sky with a wolf on its leg and a wooden bucket in its claws. Something was moving in the snow, but Gu Mingming could not see it clearly as it was too far away. But when she landed on the ground, Gu Mingming only saw one person standing in front of the stone castle with his hands behind his back. The door of the stone castle was pushed open and there was a fire burning in the house, but it could not warm up this silver-white world. The person standing at the door was none other than Cole. His silver hair fluttered in the wind and his lips curled into a smile. He did not seem to care about the snowstorm and coldness at all. His eyes were filled with love as he said, "Ah Gu, welcome back." Gu Mingming squinted at Cole and sneered, "You're not afraid of me? You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.